Helping an animal, like a dog or a bird, can make you feel really special. It might be a bit tricky and challenging sometimes, as you'll see in the video today, but it can also make a big difference in an animal's life, giving them another chance to be happy. When this osprey bird came to a woman while she was swimming, she understood how to help it right away. One day, Ruth, a volunteer for a local wildlife rehab, received a call about a bird who needed help. Having rescued a lot of animals, she was excited to jump on this one too. As she took her leave, she could only hope the osprey wasn't in terrible condition. When she got out, she realized the animal was just in the water right behind her house. Even more perfect, so she jumped in her kayak to rescue him. When the bird saw her approaching, what it did was heart-melting. Desperate for help, he rushed towards the kayak, but this animal had gotten himself into a little trouble. He had flown into a fishing line dangling from a tree. Sadly, the lure of the hook had also launched itself into one of the osprey's wings. Even in this state, the bird could tell that Ruth was trying to help him, so he remained calm in a captivating way. That way, Ruth could easily cut the fishing line. She then brought him into the kayak and tucked him into a towel. Not wanting to cause any more damage, she left the hook in place and took him to her house to dry him up. Afterwards, she took him to a wildlife hospital and they removed the hook. Luckily, there wasn't too much damage to his wing. He was given some antibiotics and after a few days, he was back to good health. This sweet bird has since returned to the canal to continue fishing. Hopefully, he doesn't run into trouble again in the future. One man, Tim Crowley, and his friends got an unlikely visitor. What's the first thing that comes to your mind on a sunny Sunday afternoon? Perhaps swimming. But as for Tim and his friends, nothing beats having a drink over some chit-chat. So they did just this. While they had only planned for a lazy and fun weekend, they couldn't have thought that the next moment, the life of a bird would depend on their hands. That afternoon, everything was going as planned, and they had even started to get tipsy. However, all of a sudden, they heard a loud thud behind them. Of course, nothing too scary, but not ordinary either. Looking back, they saw a baby Lesser Goldfinch who had fallen from a tree behind them. With the way she chirped, they could tell she was in danger. But there was the matter of their drunken state. Despite that, they knew that they had to rescue her. At first, the men joked about calling an Uber to take the bird to safety, and then the next minute, they were like, why not? So they ordered the ride. However, the first Uber driver turned them down when he realized the situation. The next person they connected to was Christy Gunn. When she arrived, she was taken aback by the sight of the men holding beers. While the men knew what was happening, Christy had yet to know it was a bird that would go with her in the car, and not the tipsy men. However, when they explained the situation, unlike the first driver, she was all in for it. So she drove the bird to the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center in northern Utah. On getting there, the already dehydrated bird received proper care. Once he got better, the center intended to release him into the wilderness. Every bird has a story, and perhaps this one could have ended otherwise. Thanks to Tim and his friends' timely help, it was a happy ending. Condorito meets Edgardo, living in Lancaut, Argentina. Edgardo, a farmer, owned a ranch. While his family may have lacked some sort of fun and excitement, all that changed when an injured condor walked into his yard one day, asking for help. That day, the bird appeared on his balcony with a broken leg. Apart from his injury, Edgardo could tell that the bird was lonely. So he decided to be the family the bird needed, and that was the beginning of this enticing journey. Edgardo nursed the bird until he could properly walk again. Some days later, he named him Condorito. Afterward, he contacted wild experts, and they believed the feathered animal was born at a nesting site not far from his house. However, through unknown circumstances, they suspected the bird was separated from his parents. As time passed, Condorito also grew and even learned to fly. Just then, something fascinating happened. Even though the bird flew away, he never forgot Edgardo's act of kindness. Each time he wandered off, he still flew back to check on Edgardo, and each time he does, the man is always at the other end waiting to receive him with his arms widely open. The two have gotten so used to sharing deep, warm hugs that it doesn't look like they will be stopping anytime soon. Although Edgardo is over the moon about his relationship with the bird, he has no plans to domesticate him. He hopes someday the animal would fly away into the wild and never return. But if ever Condorito appears again, certainly Edgardo would be there to embrace him as always. Like Condorito, this bird, Chibi, also refused to leave after getting rescued. When one woman was walking down her street, she didn't expect to find anything unusual. That was the case until her eyes caught something on the floor. When she approached it, it turned out to be two fledglings. Unfortunately, one had already died. This woman knew that if she left the second one out there, she would suffer the same fate as her sibling. So the woman rescued the bird and took her home. However, when she got home, she didn't know what to do with the bird, so she asked her neighbor, a couple who lived just next door, if they could help. Sometimes one doesn't even need to have the right resources or knowledge to help a friend or rescue an animal. All it takes is a big heart, and that's exactly what this couple had. So they took the bird in and named her Chibi. But what they didn't know was how much this animal would change their lives. Chibi was so little, and the couple wasn't even sure she could make it, but they were willing to try. After asking around, they learned that they could feed the bird some wet cat food. When they tried it, she loved it. As weeks passed, the bird became stronger and even more beautiful. The most heart-melting part of this story happened when the bird also learned to fly. Have you ever felt happy and sad at the same time? That's how this couple felt. They were glad Chibi could fly, but they knew it was time to let her go. They asked a neighbor if they could release her in their garden, and they agreed. The next morning was very sad for the couple. They took Chibi to the garden with her little house in case she wanted to sleep there. When they let her go, she flew away and they said goodbye. But just as they were leaving, she flew back to their shoulder. They thought she might want to stay with them for a few days, but they soon realized she wanted to stay forever. They had saved her, and she found a forever home with them. Rescuing animals can be tough, but sometimes it's worth it. On April 29th, Jalil Najab, a filmmaker in Azerbaijan, was in the Maldives on a luxury yacht when something rather terrifying happened. If he had not had his camera on him, this story would have gone to the wind. While everyone went about their business on the yacht, one finch bird who lived on board in the bushes soon got everyone's eye on her after she hit a rough patch. What happened could have been grave, but just right in a corner was a crew member, Mohammed Reiki, who did not know he was about to play a hero. With no one watching, the bird suddenly jumped out of the bushes and accidentally landed in the water. Fortunately, the yacht crew noticed, and while they were contemplating what to do, Mohammed acted fast and jumped into the water. Jalil, who was in his cabin, saw what was happening and ran outside to film the breathtaking incident. When Mohammed got into the water, he picked the bird and started swimming one-handed back to the yacht. Right then, something terrifying happened. As he moved closer to the sailboat, a 6.5-foot or 2-meter shark came into view. It circled the man, but luckily it glided away. But there was still more danger. 2 more sharks were lurking around. However, Mohammed was fast enough. He hurriedly swam to the yacht, and another crew member put out his hand and pulled the hero to safety. When he returned to the boat, the crew put the bird back in the bushes. Surprisingly, the bird didn't appear to realize the danger it had escaped. But after the story became popular on social media, many people expressed their thanks on behalf of the bird. Have you ever saved an animal? How did it happen? Let us know in the comments section. Thank you.